Okay, so we're making macaroni and cheese today. We're stuck in the house and we need comfort food. So mac and cheese is the way to go. So we're going to do this from scratch. The only thing I didn't make was the macaroni, which came in a box. And these are corkscrews. The cheese will stick to them very nicely. You don't have to use just elbow macaroni. Like, it's very common. Most people use that. But I use anything that I feel like using. So, secret to mac and cheese is making a cheese sauce. And the way you make a cheese sauce is with a roux. A roux is flour and either butter or oil. I prefer butter because they seem to incorporate better together. When I used oil, when I first started making gumbo and things like that, that required a roux, I noticed there was like an oil slick on top of my food. And I don't care for that. And so I won't ever make a roux with oil again. So, okay, so we're going to put this burner on, and we're going to get a stick of butter in here. I already cut it up so it melts easier. We'll just break it apart. Okay. So, once the butter melts, we have to let it melt first before we start adding in the flour. And so this is the flour I use. It's called Wondra. And it's a very thin flour. It's designed for making gravy. And it works really well. It melts in with the butter very quickly. There's very few lumps because it's so finely made. And okay, so our other ingredients is going to be whole milk. We've got about 3 cups of cheese there. And we have about 3/4 a cup of cubed ham, which I like to add in as something additional. You can put anything in that you want. And you can use any cheese. That happens to be cheddar cheese, mild cheddar cheese. And the kids will probably prefer that. But, you know, the adults, you could make macaroni and cheese with any cheese at all. Any cheese that you like. As long as it's, you know, it melts nicely. Some cheeses don't melt nicely. And the other thing that helps the cheese melt is this roux is so hot. And when you pour the milk in, after you do the flour and butter combination, and what we're going to do is do a blonde roux. And what that is, a dark roux is what they use for making gumbo, and that's allowing the flour and butter mixture to become very dark, almost like a mahogany. And it gives the dish a really nice look and a deep flavor. But now, when we're doing a blonde roux, that's when we want to make something. We don't want a dark cheese going into our macaroni and cheese. It just won't look good. So here we go. Very hot. We want to cook this like 3/4 through, because if we cook it really soft and mushy, it's going to cook again in a baking dish later, and we don't want the macaroni to be like just falling apart, mushy. So that's almost to the point where I can take it out. So here we go. Whoa. One thing at a time. We got to get our flour in. I almost went out of order there. I'm nervous. This is my first video. And my wife's been kind enough to help me out with it. Okay, so we're getting this flour in. We've got to constantly stir it. And that's the thing about a roux. You can't walk away or you're going to burn it. And burnt flour doesn't taste good. I guarantee it. So what we want to do is we're going to stand over this and watch it. And you also want to have all your ingredients on a nearby station so you don't have to walk away from this roux. And that's the key right there. And what we're going to do is lower this heat down a little bit too. Okay.
So how do you know if you've put in enough flour?
It won't be as liquidy, and you'll be able to see it when you're putting the lines through like that. See how that? Yeah, I don't measure the flour. Now, really, if I'm going to do videos, I really need to give you measurements. But right now, I don't have the amount that I use. I'll have to work out a formula with that. But that's a good question. And I tried. All right, so first thing we're going to do is do what I told you not to do. And go dump this. Alright, there you go. My assistant helped me out with that. Let me turn this off. So as you see, it's starting to come to the point. It's still yellowish. It hasn't browned a whole lot. So we are pretty close to adding in our milk. Okay, so this is 2 cups of milk right here. And we're going to need more. But first, now here's where I'm missing my whisk. Because you want to incorporate this and get this mixed in so that it's all homogeneous. Because otherwise, you know, you don't want lumpy pieces of flour in your, in your macaroni and cheese. So, alright, so we'll let that heat up a little bit, and then we'll add in, excuse me, we'll add in some more milk, and then as soon as this thickens up, which it will, because there's plenty of flour in there, so you'll notice that it starts to thicken. And so I'm just going to add in maybe another cup of milk. Okay. That looks good. Now we're just going to get this heated up. It's got to be really hot before you start putting the cheese in, or else the cheese won't melt. So you want to get this really hot, but you want to keep it moving because you don't want to scald it. Well, what milk will do is burn on the bottom of the pan. So if we keep it moving, that's not going to happen. And we get it really hot. And then we start adding in our cheese. And then, baby, we're halfway there. Halfway there. Now I'm going to walk over, since this isn't the roux anymore. I want to make sure. Perfect. Macaroni's perfect. Okay. So you gotta have a little patience, because the hotter this is, the quicker that cheese will melt, and the quicker we're gonna be at the dinner table. So I know everybody's worried right now about the pandemic, and I think it would be a good idea to get in your kitchens and start baking bread or making some comfort food, and keeping everybody's mind off of the worries. Okay, so this is almost hot enough. I could probably kick this up a little bit. Kick it up. All right, that's getting real hot now. All we'll do is we'll just start with a pinch of this, and we'll see how hot this is. See how fast that melts. That's melting pretty rapidly. And like I said, always keep stirring. Always keep stirring. So here we go. And it's funny, 3 cups of cheese sounds like a lot, but after it melts, it just like disappears. And you got to have enough to where it's not a soup anymore. It's a nice creamy thick. So that's going pretty good. Here comes some more cheese. I'm not going to say bam. That's emeralds. So, all right. All right, cough into your elbow, please.
I am.
All right. We both got coughing fits here today.
Allergies.
Okay. See how nice that's looking? Nice and creamy. All right, let's add in the rest. And then we're going to put our cubed ham in. See how that's getting nice and thick? Mm-hmm. That's what you want. You want it nice and thick and tasting like cheese and not flour. Okay. So we're almost there. We're almost there. My whisk would do a better job. This was given to me by my son as a joke. And I have used it before though. But unfortunately, that stuff down in there is so hot, I don't want to put my hands that close to it. So I decided to go with the wooden spoon. One of my mother's choice of weapons. You all right?
Yeah.
Good Lord. All right. What do you think, Mama?
Looks good.
All right. So here comes the ham. Here comes the oinky. I love ham. Not supposed to eat it, but I love it. So that comes in, swims around with the cheese. And that gets nice and hot. And the last thing we're going to do is get this macaroni in. And we'll see how that looks. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. That's looking good. That is looking good. I'm going to turn that off. Because we are at a point We're going to set this up in a nice baking dish. And then we're going to top it off with some breadcrumbs and melted butter. And give it a nice crispy top. After we get it in the oven. Let's put the oven on. How about that?
What'd you set it at?
350. 350. Okay. So, let me see how I'm going to do this here. Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. Spoon this in. Look how nice that is. Look how pretty. In it goes. Hopefully we'll have enough room in this. Looks like a lot of mac and cheese. And I didn't even use all the macaroni. All right. Oh boy. I know some kids down the street that would tear this up. All right, so looking good. Here's what we're going to do now. All right, I'm going to come over here where I got more room. I'm going to take this butter. I've got a half a stick of butter, and it's going to go in the microwave for about a minute. We're going to check it and make sure it's melted, and then we'll mix the liquefied butter in with the breadcrumbs. We'll make a crumbly mix that'll go on top of the mac and cheese, and the mac and cheese will go in the oven.
Okay, but what's the crumbs made out of?
It's just breadcrumbs, regular breadcrumbs like this here. You get the Italian style. You don't use panko for this because it's just, I like the regular breadcrumbs for the topping. They mix better with the butter. Let's see what we got there. Come on, baby. Almost there. So you saw how quick this was. I mean, you could do this in like, what, 30 minutes. Once you get that thing in the oven, maybe another 30 minutes, you got dinner on the table. You got ham, you got cheese, you got macaroni. I mean, you've got a good meal. Okay. So now, come over here and get me a spoon. I'm going to pour this into the mixture. I got to be careful how much I put in. Okay, because you don't want it too wet. I think I can use it all. That's not a problem. Okay, so that was half a stick of butter. And actually, I can use a little more butter, but what I'm going to do is throw in a little olive oil. A little healthier than the butter. Well, probably a lot more healthy than the butter. But since we've got a lot of butter in this already, I'll just go ahead and use the olive oil. So you see how that's getting crumbly? Mm-hmm. So that's what you want. You want crumbly. Okay. So then, excuse my big paws, I'm going to spread this over the top. Alright, this baby is ready for the oven. Let's see where the racks are at. I'm going to bring the rack down because we don't want it browning too fast. you know, you could try to put a time to this, like 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Everything's cooked. So all you're looking for is to get a nice brown on the top. And then you're all set. So, and you want everything to be hot inside.
So why did you put it on the side and not in the middle of the rack?
Because that's where the burner is, see?
Okay.
Okay. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll bring out the finished product. Okay, we're back. We're coming out. Everybody stand back. It's hot. Hot and bubbly and delicious. All right. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the bubbles. You know that's hot, baby. And look at the brown. It's delicious.
Good job.
All right. Join me again. Join me again for another video soon. And be safe out there. And God bless you all.